with you guys on this impromptu live stream. This isn't planned out. I'm not acclimated to this time zone yet, so everything is very inconvenient for me. I don't want to eat at normal times. It's hard to sleep at normal times. So I'm just getting adjusted to this time zone. But welcome, greetings from the West Coast. And I was actually staying in North Hollywood for a couple days. And if you've never been to North Hollywood, and of course I hadn't been there in a while, but North Hollywood is a lot different than the way I used to live, the way I used to remember it. I actually used to live in North Hollywood around 2005, and I don't remember it being this scary. It's probably still the same. I just cared less when I was a little bit younger, and you don't really have those types of, sometimes you don't notice things or you're not bothered by things as much. But hanging out in North Hollywood, it's a very interesting place because it's a mix of affluent people that work in television and film, and also like drugged out people all over the streets and sidewalks. So it's kind of an interesting mix of people. You have the very artsy types, and then you have like just total drug addicts laying out on the sidewalk, out of their minds. And the air all over North Hollywood, I noticed, it just smells like marijuana, just very deep marijuana smell permeating throughout the air wherever you go. So thank you guys that are joining me in the room live. I also had a very interesting experience yesterday morning in North Hollywood, but I forgot to put the battery in my vlogging camera after charging it. So unfortunately, I don't have this caught on camera, so it won't be in a vlog, so I'll just tell you about it. I went to El Pollo Loco, which is they serve chicken, they serve tacos, burritos, stuff that I've been really wanting to have for a while, especially the tacos and burritos. But I went to El Pollo Loco in North Hollywood yesterday for breakfast, and it was a very small one, and there was some construction workers that were on their lunch break, so all the tables were full. Thanks guys for joining me. I'll address your comments in a minute. But all the tables in this El Pollo Loco were full, except there's like two Latino guys sitting at one end of a table. One of them was an employee, and I said, hey, rather than just stand there, I said, hey, do you mind if I sit there? And they said, okay. And they were speaking Spanish back and forth. And I said to one of them, the older one, I said, where are you guys from? And I think he misinterpreted what I was trying to say because I just meant a friendly, hey, where are you guys from? But he said, Mexico. And then the next thing out of his mouth was, what do you think of Hispanic people? That's what he just straight up asked me when I asked where they're from. And he said, Mexico. And he gave me like kind of a strange look. And he said, what do you think of Hispanic people? And I said, honestly, I really don't think about Hispanic people. They're not really on my brain too much. They don't really take up a lot of my time thinking about them. So it's like, sorry, but you're maybe not as important as you think you are. We're not obsessed with you. But I explained that to him in a nice way. And then we got to talking, me and this Mexican guy. He's lived in the US for 10 years. Very nice guy. We got along really well. But it was an interesting experience eating breakfast with two random Mexicans. But like I said, nice guys. Had a really good conversation actually with them. I just wish I could have vlogged some of that because I think you guys would have been interested in seeing that. So that was probably the most interesting experience I've actually had in a while. Just eating breakfast with two random Mexican guys that I've never met, total strangers. But I guess that's one of the things I've learned over the years in terms of being more outgoing, being more friendly, not being so shy, not being worried to talk to people if you don't know them. It's pretty easy to make friends with people, pretty easy to get along with people regardless of what walk of life. Even though it started out a little bit awkward because I think he thought that I was saying, by saying, where are you guys from? Like I was trying to I think he thought I was trying to make a statement because they were speaking in Spanish, like of, hey, we don't want you around here. We don't want your language around here. People are very sensitive about race. And it's almost like they think, especially I think a lot of non-whites look at white people and they think that we're out to get them somehow, something like that. When in reality, most of the time we're not even thinking of them. That would probably hurt their feelings though to explain that. Look, man, I don't even think about you people. It's not even on our. It's not for most white people. It's not even on our minds most of the time. But after that little misunderstanding was explained, like we got along fine. But I wish I would have vlogged that because, like, how often do you just eat breakfast with two Mexican guys that you've never met before like that? It's a pretty cool experience. So, but go ahead and ask your questions, your comments. Like I said, this is a very impromptu live stream, so I don't really have topics laid out like normally I try and do. And also I'm hosting this one by myself, of course. So that makes things a little bit more difficult. So you guys saw that last vlog where I got in, where I flew on that airline that I'd never even heard of before, but ended up going pretty smoothly. So if you haven't watched that, let me see. You're a fan of buffets. What's the best buffets in LA? Boy, that is a good question. I know a lot of buffets around LA, at least I used to. Especially, there's higher end buffets. If you want a more expensive, little bit higher end buffet, Fogo de Chao it's like kind of Beverly Hills area, kind of by the Beverly Center, I think. At least that's where it used to be. Fogo de Chao, it's like a high-end Brazilian steakhouse that's buffet. If you don't know what a Brazilian steakhouse is or Brazilian style, basically they come around with different slabs of meat, like on a steak, and then they offer you, like, would you like some of this, whatever kind of meat it is, and then they slice off some and put it on your plate. So it's just like guys walking around with slabs of meat, and they cut off slices as you wish them to do so. So Fogo de Chao in LA, if you like higher end buffets, especially if you like steak, or if you like those Brazilian style places. But for lower end buffets, I feel like you can't beat Hometown Buffet. And I was actually going to go there the other night with a friend, but they close early. They close by 8:30 on weeknights, so I didn't make it to Hometown Buffet. But there's another place in Burbank too. I think it's called Newtown Super Buffet. It's a Chinese buffet. And normally, I don't even like a lot of types of Asian food, like Chinese foods and stuff. But I like that particular Chinese buffet. I'll go just because I go mainly for the shrimp dish, and sometimes that'll be the only thing I eat at that buffet. But that's a pretty popular buffet too. I believe it's called Newtown Super Buffet. It's across from the Kmart in Burbank. And I'm missing your guys' comments here, so let me go back a little bit. Yeah, you're asking, Hometown Buffet is still around? Yeah, it's still there. We went there the other night. It was just closed because we showed up like around 9:30, but they close at 8:30 on weeknights. Seems like a lot of things close early around here. That's not something that I really remembered well. So, yes, I did have fun when I was living abroad. So, yeah, but I think what's important is that you try and be happy and have a good time, try and have fun. Whatever country in the world where you are. I always say that I'm very blessed because it seems like no matter what country I find myself in, I've always had people welcoming me. I've always had people nice to me in every country I've visited. I've had some bad experiences definitely in foreign countries, but I feel welcomed everywhere I go. So, and I know not everyone has that experience, so I recognize I'm very grateful that I'm blessed in that way. So I'm missing all these comments coming in because I'm on the cell phone, so it's harder to read as they come in. Let me go back a little bit, and it's harder to do this type of show by myself. That's why I need someone with me. Like, really, ideally, I'd need a third person, another person on camera, and a third person just monitoring the comments and marking off good ones to answer. Journey with Jack says, I went to school with Hispanics. I have worked with them on all kinds of jobs, including the Army. Well, I'm sure there's a lot of them in the Army. My boss in upper management is mostly Hispanic. It is as common as breathing. We're all human. You say your boss and upper management is mostly Hispanic. What kind of work do you do? Warubiku, thanks. Shane Gable says, welcome back to the USA, Travis. Well, it's very good to be back in the USA. I miss the United States. This is maybe where I belong, isn't it? Nothing against any other country, but I think that this is probably where I belong for the most part. Although to some extent, I almost feel because I'm welcomed. It seems like every country I go to, I feel like I belong. Anywhere I go, that's where I belong. But I got to remember, this probably is, the most where I belong out of anywhere. I like going to other countries. I like experiencing other cultures and stuff like that. But you can do that up to a point, I feel. And then it's like, man, I want to go home. I want to be around my own language. I want to be around my own people. I want to have easy access to food that I love. Like for me, it's tacos and burritos is one of the things that I really like a lot. Where I was living, in the country where I was living, they do have a good selection of food. So I'm not trying to imply that by any means that in the foreign country where I was, that I had problems getting something to eat. There's any major city in the world, they're going to get, just about anything that you want. Except in the particular country where I was living for the past several years, they don't really have tacos and burritos very commonly, especially good ones. It was getting more common. I saw over the past 5-10 years, it was getting to be more of a thing, but it's not like here. So, and they had Il Pollo Loco in the country where I was living, but they don't serve tacos and burritos at Il Pollo Loco in that country. So I'm getting that stuff here. So thank you guys for joining me. Let me see. What projects are you looking forward to if you can disclose them? Well, thank you for putting the part about if I can disclose it, because a lot of the times I can't really disclose what I'm working on for various reasons, but I have some personals. I'll just say this. I have some personal projects that I'm excited for, some personal projects that I'm going to have a lot of fun with, and I think they're important. So we'll see what happens with that. We have a question here from a Canadian. Let me find it. I lost it now. Asking if J.R. Bjornson says, what have you been up to, Travis? Hello from Alberta, Canada. Well, hello out there in Alberta, Canada, from Los Angeles, California. What have I been up to? I've been vlogging. I've had several good vlogs. You got to check those out. And we have a playlist on my channel. It's very easy to access all that stuff. All the videos on my channel, they're very neatly and conveniently organized into playlists. So it's pretty easy to find most stuff. Also, if you go straight to the channel, you can do a search and type for a certain term, just videos on that channel. So sorry if I'm missing your guys' comments. Like I said, it's a little harder to do this by myself. Shane Gable says, come to Chino, California, and I will take you to Hometown Buffet. Well, that sounds like a good offer, a good invite. I wouldn't want to turn down a trip to Hometown Buffet, but I'm not sure where Chino, California is actually. Is that someplace out in the desert, more by San Bernardino or something, maybe on the way to Las Vegas? So I think I've heard of Chino, California, but not sure where it is offhand. But yeah, if you want to take me a Hometown Buffet, it's been years since I've been to one of those. It's funny, in the country where I was living, they have lots of buffets, but they're generally more expensive. So here it's amazing how you can get cheap buffets. Golden Corral is another really good buffet. They used to have one in my hometown, but they got rid of it, unfortunately. But Golden Corral, if you're in a location, There's no Golden Corrals really in the Los Angeles area. They have some out in the desert, I think, like more out towards San Bernardino, but Golden Corral is actually, I would say that's better than Hometown Buffet. It's just there's no Golden Corrals in Los Angeles. And it's kind of funny because I used to watch TV and they would always show commercials for Golden Corral, but it's like we can't go to any if you live in LA. Like the closest Golden Corral is probably at least over an hour away, somewhere out in the desert. So let's see what you guys are saying. Come to the Renaissance Fair this Saturday. It's in Baldwin Park. I'm not sure where Baldwin Park is even. Is that in San Gabriel Valley? But the Renaissance Fair, sure, fun. We can feast on turkey legs and mead. I'm not sure what mead is, actually. Journey with Jack says they still have Golden Corrals there in Texas. Yeah, actually, you know, if you live by a Golden Corral, especially for the money, that's about as good as it's going to get, I think, in my opinion. At least I haven't been to a Golden Corral in many years, like probably 5-6 years. But in my experience, Golden Corral has an amazingly wide range of items to offer you to eat at their buffet. And they're really good, they're well done, they're high quality, and all for around roughly, you know, $9-10 when I was going there. So you're saying there's some Golden Corrals in... We got Mr. Heavy Metal Hero Dude says, there is some Golden Corrals in Northern California. Yeah, I know I've seen one on the way going to Las Vegas in the desert, but it was pretty far from LA. So, just looking through your guys' questions. It's harder to see them on the phone like this. It's like they pop up for a few seconds and then they disappear and you don't even have time to read them. So then you got to like scroll back and then you can see me pointing at the screen. It's a little awkward now. David Purcell says it's around $13 now for Golden Corral. Yeah, I guess there's been some inflation, you know, in the time that I've went there, and it's been about at least a half a decade, so I would expect a little bit of inflation. But $13, I guess that's still a fair deal for what you get. But I'm not sure how much Hometown Buffet is anymore. I expect things to go up in price from when I was here last, and I'm going and ordering food at places. I expect things to be a little bit more expensive. One thing that I didn't really expect was going to El Pollo Loco. It's kind of weird because it's like they tried to turn El Pollo Loco into an imitation Chipotle. And it's like if you want a higher end place, you're going to go to a place like Chipotle or whatever. Or if you want something that's good fast food that's just a little cheaper, you know, I'd rather go to like an El Pollo Loco or something, but it's like they tried to change El Pollo Loco into Chipotle, which I don't think it's a good move in my opinion. Mining Free says there's a Golden Corral in Downey, 30 minutes from LA. I'm not sure where Downey is offhand. So what are your thoughts on Las Vegas, like their nightlife, food, hotels? Boy, you're opening up a whole can of worms there. I'm no expert on Las Vegas by any means, and I've been there a number of times, though, to Las Vegas. Las Vegas, you know, it's for people that want to go get drunk, do crazy things. At least that's the image that they market themselves at. They do have like a lot of big, especially fights. If you're into boxing or MMA, they hold a lot of those there. But yeah, to me, I'm not really a Las Vegas guy. I don't gamble, for one thing, and I'm not really into a lot of the other stuff that it's well known for and markets itself for. But I've been to Las Vegas a number of times. It's okay. I mean, I don't gamble, and if you don't, sending a guy that doesn't gamble to Las Vegas, it's kind of like, you know, what's the point in that? So I suppose if you like to gamble, you'd probably like it. So, but yeah, it's funny because no one's asked me about Vegas. The last time I was in Vegas was maybe 5 or 6 years ago. So, let me see, I'm missing these comments because they're disappearing. The Nikon Coupon says, welcome back to the good old US of A. Thanks for the live chat. Well, thanks for joining us for the live chat. It's good to be back. I know this is kind of an awkward time to do a live chat too, because I guess it's 11:30 a.m. here now. Jeremy Wales says, what's your review on President Trump so far? The media are going crazy. Yeah, my goodness. Whether this isn't a political show, so I'm not going to get into all my thoughts politically on that. But I was at a friend's house yesterday morning, and he was watching that show, The View, with those women where they talk. And the entire hour that the show was on, it was all about Trump and all about what a terrible person Trump is. And it's like I said, geez, they should rename this show to Trump Talk instead of The View. These people are obsessed with Trump. And I feel like even if you agree with what those women are saying, you have the same viewpoint and you hate Trump, you'd probably get sick of hearing about it for an hour. And supposedly, my friend said that's what they do every day on the show. They just talk about Trump. Every guest that would come out, they'd say, what do you think about Trump? Isn't he terrible? You know, it's like that. It's just upset. They're upset. All the media is going crazy right now with Trump. And especially these shows like The View, man, they're just putting out bad vibes, to be honest with you. A lot of it, it's funny because you could say so much bad stuff about Hillary Clinton, especially if you've actually read WikiLeaks, which I would encourage people to do if they really want to know what's going on. Read WikiLeaks instead of listening to the American media. It's funny, they just had a big presidential election in France, so even internationally, that was making news, partly because you had two, kind of like in America, you had two different extremes to some extent. One like wanted to further, promote multiculturalism and bring in Muslims. The other person that ran, Le Pen, was more of a nationalist, I guess, and more right wing. But Morrissey actually, the singer Morrissey, kind of made the news because I guess what he said was a bit unexpected for him. He said that in the televised debates, Le Pen, the right-wing candidate, clearly won the debates, but the controlled media in France won't allow, they'll say, oh, she lost. And he said that the media in France, is controlled just like in the USA. It's kind of shocking, though, because by no means is Morrissey a right-winger. He's extremely left-wing, and he's borderline crazy. Very talented guy. He's a good example of just because someone has a certain talent, like maybe they can act good, maybe they can sing good, that doesn't really give them license to talk about whatever they want and make them an expert on things like politics or things like that, just because they're good in one area. It doesn't mean they're all knowing and all knowledgeable about other ones, but Morrissey's kind of a kooky guy. Very good singer, though. One of the few singers that I actually like. So I love Morrissey's music, but as a person, he's supposed to be kind of a crappy guy from people that have been from what I hear. I mean, I don't know the guy. People think that you hear a lot of stories about Morrissey about what a kooky freak he is and just how he can't get along. And I highly doubt that me and Morrissey would be able to get along together in the same room. I respect his singing and his songwriting. He's great at that, though. So he should just maybe stick to that instead of some of his nuttier opinions. Which some people have told me the same. I should stick to what I do instead of some of my opinions about other stuff. But you asked this question. Now you're opening up a can of worms, my friend. So Shane Danster says, Travis, will you ever travel to Malaysia, Indonesia, Cambodia, Thailand, Vietnam? All your doors. I had a video in Malaysia that did fairly well. So that's check out the video where I went to Malaysia. I've been to Thailand a couple times, but I wasn't doing YouTube then, and I wasn't vlogging. But the last time I was in Thailand was in 2007. And I started this YouTube channel in 2007, maybe 2-3 months after that trip to Thailand. Not that that trip is related. It's just that's how it happened to work out. So, uh, Funny Owls Mayhem. Would you rather be rich or be famous? I'm sorry, this is out of subject. No, man, that's cool. You can ask me random things. That's fun. Would I rather be rich or famous? Well, there's advantages and disadvantages to being famous. It depends on your goal. But being rich, is there any disadvantage to that? The only disadvantage I can think of to being rich is if people know you're rich, then they'll try and use you, especially in the United States. Unfortunately, it seems like anyone that has any success, anyone that has any money, other people are going to try and find a way to take it from them. And other people in America, it's common that they have the attitude, that guy doesn't deserve that. I'm going to, let's come up with some sort of reason to sue him so we can get some of that. We got to redistribute that. We got to take what that guy has. So I think that that's really a crappy attitude that's common in America, unfortunately. Journey with Jack says it was a pleasure meeting you last year. Yeah, it was a pleasure meeting you. You support me on Patreon. So anyone, that's one of the biggest perks, I guess, to Patreon. Because so many people on a daily basis, it seems like they want to take me to lunch or take me to dinner. But when you get offers from random strangers, you don't really know these people. But with the people that support you on Patreon, we know who to prioritize more because, they're giving back, they're helping cover my expenses and create these videos. So we always make an effort to try and, whenever we're in the same area with one of the people that support us on Patreon, we always make an effort to meet up with them and do something. Like I said, though, it seems like I could have had free lunch and free dinner every day if I wanted, because I get so many requests, people offering me, like people write me and stuff. But the bottom line is I don't really know these people, and I'm busy and have other things going on. So I'll scroll back through the comments that I've been missing. Someone says, "How tall are you, Travis?" And the next commenter answered that. They said, "I am 5'4". Yep, you're right on the money. I'm 5'4". Don't tell anyone, though. It's our secret. I just wear lifts in my shoes. Jeremy Wales says, "It's very much the same in the UK. We have an election coming up. The media are pushing a socialist/communist. If he wins, you're leaving the UK to move to the Philippines." Well, Jeremy, you're in luck because I wrote a book about that. I have this short book out that tells you the finer point, that really tells you what you need to do in a quick manner, because it's not something that's going to waste your time. It's going to give you the information you need in a concise, quick manner, the stuff that you really need to know. So, and it's not going to waste your time. You're not going to have to, it's not like one of those books where you have to read 20 pages to get to something you want to know. Everything, it's very packed in there of nuggets, gold, of good stuff that I wanted to make sure that, oh, you're off back to work? Well, anyways, check out my book on Amazon about moving to the Philippines. Like I said, you can easily read it in a day. I designed it to be a very quick read that doesn't waste anyone's time, because I know how that is with books. There's so many books. Like I read Sam Walton's book, the guy that founded Walmart. And there's maybe a couple interesting stories out of a book this thick, and there's only maybe a handful of paragraphs where I really felt I got some value out of it. So it's not like that. Also, I read that book, The 4-Hour Work Week. People kept swearing by it. I always thought the guy that wrote it was a bit of a snake oil salesman, kind of like someone that, because I know that guy Tim Ferriss. He really does exaggerate his accomplishments, but he has kind of a cult following. It kind of amazes me. It's like this guy hypes up accomplishments in quote accomplishments, he hypes up these little things that are so insignificant, but he makes it sound like it's some sort of world record that we're supposed to be impressed by. So I was very skeptical going into that book, 5 Hour Work Week, his famous book. But it wasn't as bad as I thought, at least in the second half. It took him like, that's a super thick book too. And he really doesn't start getting to the good stuff in the second half of the book, and I almost gave up because it seems like the first half of the book is just talking about himself and his own accomplishments, and like he's just romantically speaking about his easygoing lifestyle and stuff, like he's trying to win you over and impress you. And it's like the first half of the book, it felt like it's just fluff, really annoying, kind of disgusting. And then like towards the second half of the book, I'm like, yeah, this is, stuff that mostly I agree with. This is good stuff maybe to tell people. But in that 4-Hour Work Week book, I guess it's called 4-Hour Work Week, that's the name. There was just so much stuff about himself, so much time wasted reading that before you can get to any information that you can actually use or anything good to take away. So, Baby Sweet Narito says, good morning there. Well, thank you. Photo Escape, hi Travis, good morning. Hi, thank you guys for the wishes. Let me see. Well, you've been going there since you were 4. I know what I'm doing. Well, I'm not saying that you don't know what you're doing, that's for sure. I'm not trying to say you don't know what you're doing. And I know, like, for people that have maybe spent a lot of time there, some of that stuff, you're telling people things they already know. But here's the thing about information. The best information to get usually is not something that you're hearing for the first time. Usually, in my experience, the best type of information you get is when someone's telling you something that you already know or teaching you something that you already know, but they're actually reminding you of it. And that's often what gets you to implement it and actually uses it. It puts it back in your consciousness, even if you already know it. That's why even like when it comes to filmmaking, yeah, I have a degree in film, and I've done a lot of projects, and I could just say, well, I already have a degree in this, I don't need to pay attention. But I still watch stuff even covering just the very basics, even though I already know that stuff, because it's always good to be reminded, and that helps me actually put it into action to implement it. And that's what actually matters, is that you put things into action. It doesn't really matter, it's kind of like you can read all the books you want on learning how to swim. You got to get in the swimming pool. And for something like moving, one of the biggest things I find is people actually need the motivation to do it. People need to and it's an internal thing about getting serious about doing it. It's one thing just to kind of weakly say you want to do something or you intend to do something, but some people need that extra push and motivation. And other than just like the practical information that we have in the book is very heavily focused on motivating people. Here's the way the book is structured. The first couple chapters I feel are very important, especially chapter number 2. That's the most important chapter in the whole book because we have a couple short exercises in it, and if you do those, I think you're good to go. If you take nothing else from the book other than chapter 2, you're good. But really, the first couple chapters in the book are very important, and then we have a couple chapters at the end that are kind of more like reminders of things that you need to keep in mind. And the factual stuff, like when it comes to say money or looking for a place to live and the visa information, those stuff are just facts. And to me, facts are overrated. Joey Galan says, Travis, are you in Los Angeles? Yes, I am. I'm in Los Angeles. And I believe you are too. I didn't think of that until just now, Joey. So to Jeremy and everyone else, if you want to check out the book, go ahead. It's on Amazon. It's a little bit less than $10. Like I said, it's a fairly quick read, so it's not going to it's not something that you have to worry about wasting your time or something that you're going to start but never finish. It's designed it's going to be entertaining so you can get through it because of that reason, but it's designed to everything's like bang, bang. Everything in there is pretty vital. Like I said, I intentionally didn't want any filler. I didn't want to be like that book 4 Hour Work Week, which is not necessarily a bad book, but it could be like, they could have cut it down to 20 pages and it would have been even better. If it was a 20-page book instead of, 300 pages or whatever it was, it would have been better at probably 20 pages. And I think people would have gotten more out of it. If you give them too much, it's just going to confuse people, and most people aren't even going to finish the book when you do it that way. You got to stick to the important things. So let me see, scroll back here. Joey, where in Los Angeles are you? Let me see. Shane Danster says, what are you doing tonight, Travis Kraft? I believe I'm going to the gym. Should I vlog that? I might go to the gym with a buddy. Lloyd says, here's a good question from Lloyd B. He says, what's the first thing you wanted to do when you got back to America? Well, I was very sleep deprived, so the first thing I wanted to do was sleep. I hadn't slept in, I don't even know how many hours. But other than sleep, really what I want to do is get some good burritos and tacos. I swear that's what I want to do. That's what I was probably looking forward to doing more than anything. Getting some good burritos and tacos. Joey says he lives/works in the Arts District in downtown Los Angeles. Well, that's only like a few miles from where I am at this moment, actually. So yeah, I think you got my contact info, Joey. Joey was also supporting me on Patreon. We met up with him, and he's in one of my vlogs too from quite a while back. So, Photo Escape says, what book are you talking about? I might check it out too because I want to study further. You can just search my name on Amazon and you'll find it. Just search my name on Amazon. The link is in the description of the previous 2 or 3 videos too. So there's a link. There's a link actually. Just go to my previous vlog, and you'll see a link in the description. That's how you get to it. Let me see. Yeah, it'd be great to connect with you too, Joey. Sorry, just got on. What are you doing in the USA? Well, you'll have to watch my vlogs, and I'll vlog some of it and show you. But we're so far having a good time. But it's just trying to get acclimated, because trying to get acclimated to this time zone where you can't really sleep at night, then you just crash during the day, and you're not hungry when everyone else is eating, and then you are hungry at at 4:30 a.m. this morning. I was starving, I couldn't sleep, and I was hungry. Wasn't hungry during the normal hours yesterday. So, but that's kind of the biggest challenge right now, is just trying to get on a proper. But that's normal, especially when you've been gone. It's not like I was out of the country for a week or two. I was out of the country for years at a time on pretty much an opposite time zone, 15-hour time difference. So it's kind of funny, because when I flew here, I left China at 9:15 p.m. is when the flight left from China. 9:15 p.m. on May 16th, I left China. I arrived in Los Angeles at 6:15 p.m. May 16th. It's like I traveled back in time coming here. So that was kind of weird, actually. Pretty cool. But I can honestly say I was a time traveler. I left, got on that long flight, and then when I got here, it was 3 hours earlier than when I left China. So, James says, I hear the tacos in LA don't use spaghetti meat. He's referencing the one video that I had, the video where I went to IHOP over in the country where I was living, and I ordered a taco. It was a new item, a new menu item that they had at IHOP over there, and they had tacos, and I'm like, oh, I could go for some tacos. And then, when they brought it to me, it was just filled with spaghetti meat and this really cheap, gross cheese. The cheapest cheese they could find is what they used. And it just, I love cheese, but that stuff doesn't even really taste like cheese. And it was just, I couldn't even eat it. That's how bad the taco was. So that's what he's referencing. But yeah, I actually haven't had any tacos since I've gotten back yet. I've had a couple burritos since I got back, but I'll probably get a taco a little bit later. So Jeremy Wales says, so Conor McGregor has just signed his contract to fight Floyd. Just waiting on Floyd now. What's your prediction? I think if Conor connects with his left hand, it's game over. Well, I don't know a ton about boxing, but the truth is, McGregor's going to fight a boxing match. He's not going to beat one of the best boxers ever going in and doing that guy's sport, just like I'm sure McGregor wouldn't beat. I'm sure Floyd wouldn't beat McGregor in an MMA fight. My dad actually had an interesting suggestion as to what they should do. They should hold 2 fights. One's a boxing fight, and then maybe a few months later you do an MMA match between them. And you get to get full payment, you have to do both fights. You don't get paid until after both are done, so there's no backing out. But I think that would be the most interesting. I heard Joe Rogan suggest that they could fight a boxing match, but it'd be a little bit more even if they wore really small gloves, like closer to the MMA gloves. Because Floyd, apparently, he's not a power puncher. He's had a lot of issues with breaking his hands in the past. And McGregor could possibly knock him out because McGregor is a power puncher and he's used to wearing the smaller gloves. So, and when you have those smaller gloves too, it's harder to block shots coming in. When the boxers, when they wear those huge gloves, it makes it a lot easier to block shots. But then you put some of those guys in MMA fights and they try blocking the same way, and the punches kind of get through because they're not used to the difference in glove size. It's easier to block when you have those huge ones. Caitlyn Jenner should be one of the judges. I'm sorry, I'm not sure that maybe I lost what we're talking about. One of the judges of the Mayweather-McGregor fight. I'm not sure what Caitlyn Jenner knows about boxing, though, so not really sure he would be the appropriate choice for something like that. So, Photoescape says, I remember I saw you in Lucky Chinatown Mall. I should have approached you, but I'm too shy. Well, yeah. Don't be shy. You're going to lose out on a lot of opportunities in life. So don't be shy. You got to go after what you want. I know how it is, though. I'm an introvert by nature myself, so it's something I actually had to actively work at to overcome. And now people tell me I don't shut up. So maybe I went to the other extreme. Joey Galan says, I'll treat you to some great tacos, burritos in downtown LA. I will take you up on that, Joey. We'll talk offline about that, though, or off of this. Melinda Yule says, hello from Minnesota. 'Tis the Yuletide season, since your name is Yule. Do you actually know what the Yule festival is about, which has a lot of the basis of our Christmas, is based a lot off of the Yule festival from Europe? So, kind of an interesting name. So Veterans Blog says, yes, this is just a circus show. I believe they're talking about the McGregor-Mayweather fight. Yeah, it's like I said, what can you really expect? You can't really expect an MMA fighter to beat a boxer at boxing. Other boxers, other great boxers couldn't even beat this guy. Pacquiao couldn't beat this guy. I'm not so familiar with boxing, especially those lower weight classes. When these little guys fight, I'm kind of like, who cares? I'm not that interested. I like to see the heavyweights and the light heavyweights. Beyond that, I lose a lot of interest. The smaller guys get, the more I lose interest in watching them fight. So, but yeah, it is kind of a freak show, but they're going to make a lot of money. Like I said, to people speculating, And I don't know a lot, like I said, I don't know a lot about boxing. That's not my area of expertise, but how can you realistically expect someone to come into a different sport like that and beat them? Just because they're in another sport that's somewhat related, that's not enough. I remember a number of years ago, they were talking about how GSP was going to like take off time from MMA fighting to try out for the Canadian wrestling team for the Olympics. But it's like, even though he's great at MMA wrestling, the guy's never even wrestled a regular competition match. When you're wrestling for wrestling, it's very different than the wrestling applied for MMA. It's very different. So obviously he would never make it. He could never make it to the Canadian, make it on the Canadian Olympic wrestling team. That just, no way that's going to happen. You're not just going to walk into another sport, even if your sport has elements from that sport, and be a star in it. That would be like saying this guy's good at American football, so he's going to be a great rugby player. And that might be the case if you gave him years to practice and train in it, but you're not just going to go straight away, and take like a football player and make him a rugby star, or vice versa. A rugby star is not going to come over from Australia and just become a star in the NFL like that. Unless there's some total freak, but you got to figure things like the NFL, everyone in it is genetically a freak. So, Jeremy Wales says, was Brock Lesnar a monster when you wrestled him? What he's referring to is I actually used to train with Brock Lesnar. I'm a little bit younger than him, but his first couple years in college, he went to a junior college in my hometown. And I was in high school, but I didn't have good training partners at the high school because I could beat everyone so easy. So I would train with either Bismarck State College, which was the local junior college in my town, or the University of Mary, which is a 4-year school in my town. So some days I would go to the University of Mary, someday I would go to Bismarck State College, and I'd train with the college guys because it was more challenging for me. Because I couldn't have gotten good training with the training partners at my high school. They just weren't good enough to make me better. You need something. Iron sharpens iron. So I used to train a little bit with Brock Lesnar when he was a freshman in college. And he's asking, was he as big of a monster then? Well, he was a monster, but his freshman year in college, he was a lot smaller than what he later became. So he was a monster and he was a freak, but he was a baby monster. His freshman year, he wasn't that outrageously big. He was maybe like, say, 6'3", 215, 220. I mean, solid weight. You're talking 215 pounds. If a guy weighs 215 pounds and he's not fat, that's a very, that's a very physically impressive guy, really. That's a guy that has some athleticism probably, carrying around that type of weight, but you don't have fat on you. And then, fairly tall. He's about 6'3", I suppose. And, he was solid, but he wasn't like huge. He was like a big farm boy. He wasn't a guy that looked necessarily like he was a bodybuilder or looked like he lives in the weight room. He looked like he was a big, strong, athletic farm guy, which is what he was. He was straight off a farm from South Dakota. So he was a bit of a country bumpkin, but he was a pretty nice guy. I think people would be surprised that people liked him as much as they did. Not because he was a great athlete, because he wasn't, when he just got into Bismarck and even when he started wrestling and doing good for them, people just liked his personality. No one was thinking that this guy's going to become a famous superstar or anything like that. So let me see what these other comments are that I'm missing here. Photo Escape, who was too shy to approach me before, and I gave her the advice about being shy. She says, that's great advice, Travis. I'll remember that always. Maybe next time I see you, the courage will kick in and ask if we can collab. You got to go after what you want in life. You're not always going to get it. Definitely, I don't get what I want in life all the time. But what I find is I get what I need at exactly the right moment. Sometimes I want something and I might think I need it and then I don't get it and I'll be disappointed. But then some time will pass, maybe even years, and I'll look back and I'll think, boy, I'm glad I didn't get what I wanted back then, because now something so much better has come to me. So, but that's a lot of my advice about that. I could go on and on actually about that. Like I said, I'm an introvert myself, and just shyness is my nature. And now most people wouldn't really guess that. I remember I was telling someone at the YouTube event a few weeks back about that by nature I'm a very shy person, and they're going, "You? Really? I would never expect that." But yeah, it's something that can be overcome, though. It's not, I think we are maybe born in a way that maybe makes us more prone to be shy or to have certain personality traits and things like that. I think genetics and other factors play into that. But it's definitely something that you can learn and improve upon. And when you improve upon that, you'll greatly improve your whole life. Because I think shyness and people like afraid to speak up is one of the biggest things that holds people back in life. I really believe that. It's held me back a lot in my life. And you got to get to a point, and it usually happens when you're a little bit older. It usually doesn't happen to people in high school. They don't realize this. But it gets to a point where you say, geez, I'm missing out on so much stuff. I can't continue on this way. So then you have to learn, and you have to adapt, and you have to force yourself to grow as a person. But that's how you do grow. You don't grow from being comfortable all the time. You grow from doing things that are difficult, things that make you uncomfortable. That's what makes you grow in life. And trust me, it's easy to get stuck in a rut. Most people, that's how people get stuck in a rut, and that's how people get afraid to do things, because it's just they're too afraid of the unknown. And it's just a change for people is very hard. That's why, like when I say, people always talk to me about, I want to move, I want to move, I want to move, or I'm gonna move, and you can tell people that are gonna do it, and you can tell people that aren't gonna do it pretty easy. And that's why I wrote that book. People need to come to the realization that they have to go after what they want in life. But to go after what you want in life, here's the trick. First, you have to figure out what it is you want in life. And this is part of what's covered in the book. This is actually covered in chapter 2, as I was talking about. But you need to figure out what you want in life, and the way you do that is to be honest about what you want in life. There's so many people that tell me they want certain things, but I'm like, that's not actually what you want. You don't have to do a con job on me. You can tell me that you really want to do something because you're interested in something else. I'm not going to judge you as a person or anything like that. But people give me things like reasons and stuff that I know are fake. So, and even for myself, I've had to evaluate, what do I want out of life at this point? Or can I still go after that? Can I still pursue that? Do I have the energy? Do I have do I really want to dedicate my life to certain things? So priorities change in life, and you learn sometimes that maybe this isn't what I want, or I don't want things bad enough to sacrifice and suffer to get a particular thing. That's the thing. To get good things in life, you have to give up other things. You have to make sacrifices. That's just the truth. But that only makes getting what you want all the sweeter, by giving those up and by making those sacrifices. If everything was easy, you wouldn't appreciate anything. So Jeremy Wales, let me see here, another thing. Ronnie Rodriguez says, hi Travis, here in USA. Yes, I am. Jeremy Wales says, how does YouTube market differ from Asia to the USA, and are there different ways of creating content between different regions? Well, to answer your question, sounds like this is something what you'd want to do. The obvious would be to create different content for different regions. But it might even best, honestly, you'd probably just want to start two separate channels for this, but separate them by languages. Do one in one language of what demographic you want to reach, what they speak, and then say if you want to reach America, the UK, Australia, do English. But how do the YouTube market from Asia differ from the USA? Well, they're both stupid. YouTube is both stupid, whether it's in Asia or that, and the content they push is stupid fluff, especially now with all the mass censorship going around entire channels being blacklisted, entire channels being censored. YouTube's become a place where you can't have a serious conversation about current events because it's going to be censored. All we can do is watch stupid videos like cat videos. We can only watch the stupid, most lighthearted stuff and it's good to have that stuff because some of that can be good vibes and make us happy and take us to a little bit better state, a better, happier place when you watch lighthearted stuff. Generally, that's my content anyways, but we're not allowed to, on YouTube these days, have a serious conversation about certain things. So, I mean, I've lost so much interest in YouTube, but the writing's been on the wall for a while. I told you about that argument I got with one lady because she said I'm too edgy and stuff. I'm too controversial, and it needs to go to, I need to start creating content for little kids and stuff. All my content needs to be aimed at 12-year-olds. It's like, well, I'm getting a little bit older and I have other interests in my life. I don't know that I want to create content for 12-year-olds. And I know there's a lot of 12-year-olds and even younger, actually, kids come up and they tell me they watch my videos. They tell me they like their videos. I don't create my videos for them. It's nice to hear, though, that they're watching them and they're getting value even as, very little kids. But that's not the intention of who I'm creating my videos for. So it's like if you want to be an adult, do adult things, have some adult talk that's maybe about so-called sensitive subject matters, YouTube is no longer the place for it. All we can get is these really like stupid things aimed at 8-year-olds. So, but I don't mean that to be a negative answer. I mean that to be a truthful answer. YouTube is kind of stupid, because, especially now, well, I'll tell you this, I almost did a separate video about this. I got an email from YouTube and they were telling us that basically they want us to push a very far left-wing agenda. That's what YouTube itself is encouraging its creators to do. I got an email from YouTube and they said they want us to create videos to fight against xenophobia and to promote gender equality and fight against xenophobia. I'm thinking, how out of touch are these people at YouTube? They just elected Donald Trump as president, and he ran basically, I don't know if he's implementing this, it seems not to be so much, but basically he ran on a platform promoting nationalism and, putting up a wall on the border and things like that. So it's like clearly YouTube's a bit out of touch. The people have spoken. The people, especially throughout the middle of the country, they voted that they want America first. They don't want illegal aliens. They want us to have a certain culture or values that are somewhat cohesive. So you want me to fight against that? First of all, it's not my place, I feel, as a creator to tell other people what to believe politically, to tell people what God they should worship, what kind of values they should have, especially if you're just trying to make videos like mine that educate people but put a smile on people's face and make people happy. It's not my job to tell people what they should believe, especially politically. So, it's all silliness, but that email from YouTube made me a little bit angry. They shouldn't be, I don't want to dictate to my audience who they should be voting for, what types of beliefs they should have, but YouTube's telling me they want to encourage us to promote these types of values. And they're all far left-wing values, of course. They never say, oh, we want to promote family values. We want to promote, bringing up kids in a wholesome way. We want to promote, whatever. We want to promote gender equality. We want to promote, rights for everyone that's not of the same ilk as Tim Allen, if you know what I'm talking about. And it's like, like I said, I shouldn't even be getting an email. It's a mass email that they're sending out to, probably if you have above a certain subscriber count, you get this email, this random email from them. But it just kind of made me angry because I don't want to tell my audience what they're supposed to believe and who they're supposed to vote for. There's a lot of people that do that, and that's not what I do. And some of those people we've seen pay the price for it. There's that one Jewish guy from New York that that he seems he lost a lot of popularity when he demanded that all his followers vote for Hillary Clinton. And because the thing was, he didn't just say why, this is why his video was so controversial about Hillary Clinton, because he didn't just say, oh, people have been asking who I'm voting for, and I'm voting for Hillary Clinton, and leave it at that. He started telling his viewers they need to vote for Hillary Clinton too. And then he addressed other big YouTubers and told them, you need to tell your audience, your followers, your subscribers that they need to vote for Hillary Clinton. And you had a lot of other YouTubers, like I've heard other big YouTubers such as Philip DeFranco, and I don't really watch him, but I watched his reaction video to that, and he was basically saying, or like I gave some interview, maybe it was an interview that I read with him, but he said he doesn't like, who's this guy to tell him what he's supposed to tell his audience? And he's like, I don't want to tell my audience who they should be voting for. And it's like, that's kind of the approach that I have. I'm not telling you guys who to vote for. You know, I know who most of you guys in the US would have voted for. I know the type of people that watch this generally, and just generally, you know, of course there's people of all different belief systems and religions and political philosophies, but I'd say 80% are kind of lean one particular direction. So I'm well aware of that in my audience, which is another reason if I started making videos like what YouTube told me to make, it probably wouldn't go over real well with my audience. I'm sure of that. So, but my battery's starting to get a little oh, like Jeremy, who's leaving a lot of good comments, he says, when they label PewDiePie as a Nazi, you know, you can see like the agenda. Exactly. That whole fake news story. The Wall Street Journal starts all these fake news stories. So, but Ishmael Marsh says, welcome home. Thank you. Happy to be back. But I actually got to get going because the phone battery is getting a little low, and I'm going to go out to lunch and take care of some other things. Maybe I'll vlog some of it for you guys if you want. Also, one thing I'd like to say about these live streams is you're leaving these great comments and questions in the live chat here, but when it uploads as a recording, none of that shows up. So if you want to go back to the recording once it processes and uploads, you can leave a comment. Hey, I watched this live, just stopping by, whatever you want to say. So anyways, guys, thanks for joining me. I'd better put this phone in the charger before it dies. It was fun hanging out, doing this very impromptu stream, talking to you guys a little bit, even though it's a little harder for me to host these when I'm just doing it here by my lonesome. See ya.